Hello and welcome. In this episode I'm heading off on a road trip and I'd love you to join me. The first leg of the journey is from northern New South Wales, from the cane fields and the subtropics of where I live, down to the New England region of New South Wales where my mum lives. And I'll be dropping my daughter and dog there. My daughter's a very independent little girl and she loves having holidays with her cousins. And her bestie lives quite near there too now, so she's super excited to be having her own holiday. And so once I drop them off, then it's heading west to Broken Hill, which is an outback city miles from anywhere, and it will just be you and I. So sit tight and enjoy the ride. I hope you enjoy it with me as much as I'm going to enjoy it with you. This is the first time I'm using a dash cam, and it's not actually even a dash cam, it's an underwater camera that I've affixed to the windscreen. And one of the good things about it is that it turns on and off by voice command. But we're finding it really hard for Eleanor with her little voice to be heard. And so she's been experimenting with all sorts of voices, and she's finally got it right. And she probably tried at least 10 different voices, but at last, success.
GoPro, start recording! That actually worked! That actually worked! GoPro, stop recording!
Whenever we travel this way, we leave the green of the coast behind and cross the mountain range over to the farming country on the other side. But as we're crossing the range, we always have to go through this area where the bushfires raged a few years ago. And I look at it now and can't help but think how much we are nature and how similar our lives are to nature as well. And I look at these trees that were burnt and lost all their vibrancy. There was no green on them whatsoever. They were just cinders and charcoal, really, and burnt just to be sticking out of the ground and completely black. And now I look at them a few years on and see how resilient they are and how they're coming in, they're getting on with a new time in their life. And it is a lot like us. We get knocked down, sometimes we get knocked down hugely, where everything we knew is just stripped away, and then we rebuild and we find a way to restore ourselves and step forward as a new version of ourselves. And I always think about that when I'm crossing this area, and it's beautiful to see how the trees have come back again. We're back in the New England region of New South Wales. It covers a good few hours driving, so there's quite a variety within that area, but it's always gorgeous when we cross over and when we get out of the bushland and the sky opens up. Look at that sky, and it's always a happy time for me. I've said my goodbyes. Oh, my heart aches a lot. My heart aches probably equally as it is excited. As I turn right here, I'm heading west for a very, 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 very long way.
I've just pulled up at a little town called Gunnedah. Not so little, a really nice country town, and I'm just going to duck in and get some fresh fruit for breakfast. It's only about 8 o'clock and in the morning. It's beautiful to be on the road. The misty clouds haven't lifted yet, but I have a very strong feeling that they're going to. There's a quote that I wrote decades ago, which was how my work actually started, in taking nature photos and matching them with inspirational quotes that I wrote. And one of them is, that's shared all over the place on social media still decades later, is when the fog clears, sunshine follows. And I have a feeling, it's not really foggy, but there's a very low cloud covering this morning. A lot of cars still have their lights on and everything. And I have a feeling that it's going to be an incredibly beautiful day as I drive further west, that once that cloud clears, it's going to be beautiful. And even if it's not, it's still beautiful because I'm on the road and I have no responsibilities other than travel and creativity and just to be, just to be. And I'm just so grateful to be well enough to do this. I can't believe that I'm doing it, and I'm so grateful to my mum for looking after my little girl, who I miss already, looking after the dog, and I'm just so grateful. I can't believe that for where I was with my health, that I'm, brave enough to get back on the road and reconnect with this older part of myself. And I just feel so blessed.
One of the many things I love about Australia and feel grateful to be born here and be able to call it home is just how varied the landscape can be. And this landscape is similar to what I've grown up with, so I'm completely at home in these rural slopes and plains. But there's also rainforest where I live, and obviously there's also desert because we're heading there. And most of the country is actually desert, but most of us live on the coastline or on the fringes. But I love that Australia has, whatever your climate, you can find it in Australia. We have full-on tropical rainforest in the north. It snows down south. Then you've got the wild west coast, and the Southern Ocean is really wild, and then the gentle waters of the Great Barrier Reef up north where there's no waves at all. Almost any natural setting you can find in Australia. I wasn't expecting these dirt roads actually. I think that my GPS just took me the shortest way, and it may be the shortest way, but anyway, I grew up on dirt roads, so I'm okay with that. Just took me a bit by surprise when all of a sudden the bitumen ended and I'm driving along a dirt road. But I'm also driving along dirt roads that have wild sunflowers growing along their edges, so it can't be too bad. I certainly feel like I'm travelling now. Oh, I love it. I love being on the road. And for a lot of people, travelling on their own isn't their thing. But travelling on my own, being on the road on my own, is a huge part of who I used to be before I became a mum. So to be able to do this trip on my own is actually heaven. It's delightful.
I'm in a little town called Warren, not far from where I'm going to be sleeping tonight, maybe about another hour to go. And anyway, it's chai time. Oh, forgot to shake it. Have chai while travel. It's been such a positive experience already, this trip, and it really brings home to me how important it is to honour your needs, and I'm one who needs a lot of space, and but also as a parent and as an adult, or even as kids, everyone needs a break. Everyone needs a change from their normal life, and just to reflect, or not even have an agenda, just to be. And I just feel so connected with myself now, so much more connected with myself already, and this is only my first day on my own. So here's the cabin for the night. Looks okay. The main thing I focus on whenever I book anything is this. And this. That I can cook and I can store my fresh food. I totally ignore the microwave. Anyway, all looks fine to me. I have a little caravan park in Nyngan. Morning. Ready to go for another day. It's a beautiful morning, really, really sunny. I'd actually planned on being on the road ages ago. It's probably only about 7:30 now. Got up really early, got myself organised, got the car packed, which is it's a bit challenging for me physically, I've got to admit that. But anyway, all I had left to do was to brew my chai, and the road today from Nyngan to Wilcannia is just a long straight road, nothing there for hours. So it's a bit of a fatigue zone. So I definitely wanted to have my chai brewed, but I couldn't open the bottle for the milk, the almond milk I bought, and so I stood on the balcony of my cabin here, and it was only like 5:30 in the morning, 5:30. It was beautiful. It was just misty and chilly, and just really lovely. But there was no one else around, and I was standing there waiting for about 10 minutes just to ask, "Excuse me, can you open this for me?" Because with my hands being what they are, I can't do stuff like that. And and I was standing there and just thinking, oh my gosh, but it's part of what I live with now. And anyway, after about 10 minutes of being out there, I sat down and waited after a while, and still nobody. So I just scrapped the idea of being on the road that early and just went back in and meditated a second time. And so I'm in a good space this morning. And so then once I heard a bit more activity in the park, I just walked out, and just the first person I saw walking past, I just said, "Could you open this for me?" And yeah, love, no worries at all. So then I brewed my chai, and I've got it ready for when I need it later. So anyway, off we go again, and there's going to be a lot of long straight road.
up a lot, and I ended up driving right through without my cup of stop. Yeah, fatigue's a definite thing on Australian roads. It's such a long drive. I stopped at a couple of rest stops, which are just really hole in the ground toilets, and just where you can pull off safely. And but it was interesting on the way because it was more of a hazard, more than a hazard of fatigue, was the hazard of goats. I was amazed by how many wild goats there were, and like hundreds of wild goats along the way. And anyway, I've got here at a good time, and there's a snake just wandering right across. That's some sort of brown snake. It's a deadly one anyway. I'm just standing out the front of my cabin. Just went to go to the car for something, and there it is. It's a new day, and what a beautiful start to it. Driving for about an hour and a half, maybe, and I haven't seen another soul. Look at this place, it's beautiful. This is Outback. It's so quiet, just me and a couple of flies. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, 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 thank you. Oh my goodness. More happy tears. As you can see from that dust cloud, I've just passed a car, and one of the funny things that happens in rural Australia, it's not even just outback Australia, just farming areas of Australia, is that people wave to each other when they drive past. And not everyone, but most people. What happens is you don't actually just, stick your hand up and do the whole big arm wave or anything like that. You're driving along and your hands are on the steering wheel, and you've got your right hand sort of towards the top of the wheel, and you just lift the pointer finger on your right hand, and that's the wave. That's the country Australia wave. You just lift your finger, the other person lifts their finger. So you haven't let go of the steering wheel, you're still just cruising along, but you lift your finger in acknowledgement. And certainly that car and I just did that to each other, and I love that about Australia. Australians are generally a pretty friendly bunch, especially once you get out of the cities into the country. So after a few hours of driving that dirt road with its changing colours and its changing skies, I'm now at Menindee Lakes. And I've got to say, it just feels beautiful to just stop and sit for a while.
Hello? Hello?
Well, that was pretty cool, seeing those emus. I wasn't planning on coming down this road, but I got curious to see where it leads. Look at these gorgeous trees.
The size of it, it's hundreds of years old. Hundreds. Just hanging out by this riverbank for hundreds of years. Hello. Beautiful.
That's the end of the dirt roads for today. Now 110 k's to go from the lakes into Broken Hill, the homeward stretch. I made it. Thank you for sharing the drive with me and sharing this huge trip. And I'll be back for episode 2 in 2 weeks' time. Thank you so much for sharing this journey. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have.